let me tell you something. We need this $2 trillion stimulus package, especially as you can see how the tech stocks fell apart when Senator Sanders threatened to stop the bill this very afternoon. Still, it's not going to prevent necessarily a global recession, but it would mitigate some of the damage. And that's why I want to be cautious about many of the stocks that have been roaring this week. Consider the commodity tech companies like Western Digital, which makes hard drives and flash memory chips. Historically, this is a business that gets clobbered when the economy takes a big hit. That's why the stock plunged 62% from its highs in January to its lows last Thursday. Since then, though, Western Digital's caught fire, surging more than 50% in a matter of days. I told you there's opportunity beckoning in this market. Even after that run, the stock sports an accidentally high 4.8% yield, and it still seems cheap, selling for less than 6 times next year's earnings forecast. But this stuff only matters if the company can make the numbers and maintain its dividend. Mighty big if, although tonight's competitor, Micron, said some very good things about some of Western Digital's end markets. Let's try to figure this whole thing out with David Goeckeler. He's the new CEO of Western Digital, who just took over this month. He used to be at Cisco. Mr. Goeckeler, welcome to Mad Money.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
Well, David, they threw you right in the frying pan of the fire. You've just been there for a little bit. Why don't you tell us why you wanted to take the job? You had a very high-level job at Cisco. Chuck Robbins speaks very highly of you, but you just felt you wanted to run a show.
Jim, yeah. So first of all, Chuck's a great friend and supporter and great leader. Cisco's a great company. And I think, when I was there, I ran the world's largest networking business. I ran the world's largest enterprise cybersecurity company. I think it gave me a pretty unique perspective on the world and what's going on. I had the chance to talk to every customer out there. And the amount of technological change that's being driven right now, both by cloud computing, a device ecosystem, mobile broadband, this is just completely changing everything about the way business is done, about the way all of us lead our life. That world is powered by data. And that's where Western Digital comes in. The company, in my view, provides one of the raw materials or the essential elements of the digital economy, and I think we're very well positioned. I think this transition is relatively early, and we've got a long way to go before this penetrates the global economy.
All right, so Micron tonight talked about stronger pricing in some of their businesses. Obviously, they have some overlap with you. They talk about a recent increase in demand for notebooks. They're basically making a story, and the stock's going up after hours, that actually, despite what you may hear about COVID, there's some pretty good demand out there for some of the great secular trends of our time.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jim. I mean, the demand has been what I would say is consistent and resilient are two good words that come to mind. It's pretty much what we planned for. Of course, there's some puts and takes across the portfolio, as you would expect in any dynamic environment, but the business continues to flow. The relationships with the customers are great, and the teams are just doing a fantastic job of keeping the factories running around the world so we can supply that demand.
Now, with keeping the factories running around the world, you also run the risk of oversupply. How tight is flash? How tight are drives?
I don't think we have an issue with an oversupply with the visibility we have at this point. I think the market is about where we anticipated it. I wasn't here where the team anticipated it coming into this quarter. It's playing out about that way. We do have all the factories running where we continue to, there's a lot. It's a very dynamic environment. Every morning it's something different in different places of the world. So the team's adapting to that. But we think that there's good demand out there.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because everyone is on pins and needles about this. I know that, first of all, you immediately made a commitment to try to fight in this war against COVID. Second, you gave some very good examples about what are you doing in the Philippines, so people understand what responsible companies are doing to protect their workers. Why don't you tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting story, and that the team has been doing this. If you think back, we have factories in China. So the team has been doing this going back to January. And it's been just fantastic to watch them, what they learn in one country apply to another, whether it's providing all of our employees with thermometers or all the social distancing practices that are being practiced in the factories, the way we get our employees to work and changing that so that they're safe. So really an enormous amount of work, and it does change every day. But one of the things for us is we have been deemed an essential business by all of the different government mandates that are coming out. And so it's really, and they've been encouraging us to stay open and keep producing. And we've been doing that with a balance between keeping our employees safe, which is super important. And by the way, everybody that can work from home is working from home at Western Digital. people that need to work in the factories are working in the factories, and we're doing everything we can to keep them safe as they do that. And of course, a lot of these are clean room facilities in the first place.
All right. Your predecessor, Mr. Milligan, whom we had on many times and liked very much, made a very strategic acquisition, not tactical, but strategic, a giant acquisition that I think saved the company in flash. At the same time, he took on debt. And when you take on debt these days in this market, people say, whoa, if we're going into recession, that debt is going to crush us. What are you doing about the debt load? And is there any way you can tell us how the board feels right now about the dividend?
Yeah, so first of all, on the acquisition, you're 100% correct. It was a hugely strategic acquisition. I think it positioned the company incredibly well for the future. I'm super happy with what Steve did and to take over from him. He was obviously a great leader. We feel like we're in good shape. We've retired an extra $900 million of debt this fiscal year. We feel like our liquidity position is strong. We have access to more capital if we need it. We're watching that very closely. So we feel like we're in a good position, especially given the business continues to flow. On the dividend, we'll have more to say about that in the future, Jim. I'm only, I think, on day 13 or 14 here. So
all right,
we'll have more to say
on that. The last thing that I'm getting is that I spoke to probably a half dozen CEOs today about how real the opening in China is, because there's some night pictures that show not a lot of activity. There's some restaurants that are empty. But what I get from Nike and what I get from tech is that it is open for business and returning, and in some cases returning in a vengeance. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I mean, we have our factories back up and running there. We have one of the great things I love about Western Digital is we have a very, very large multi-billion-dollar retail business as well. We see that coming back in China. So we do see, a return to, we're getting closer to what would be normal there.
All right. Well, look, once again, I want to congratulate you for the job, for contributing to the cause with money, and for, I hope, filling the shoes of Mr. Milligan, who we liked very much and is a bold figure in technology. Thank you so much to David Goeckeler, CEO of Western Digital. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
All right. Now, we know we have to be cautious about anything tech. Micron did report a good quarter. There's a lot of overlap because they both do flash. I liked what I heard, but remember, it's tech. Mad Money's back after the break.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.